Carl Jung, one of the great explorers of the inner world, left us a profound teaching, one that is often overlooked in its full complexity. We cling to people, beliefs, situations, and versions of ourselves that stopped representing who we truly are long ago, and yet Jung showed us that true growth begins when we have the courage to let go of everything we are not. Imagine for a moment that you're carrying a suitcase full of stones. Each stone symbolizes something you haven't released. A fear, a relationship that breaks you, a belief that limits you, and you carry this suitcase everywhere. Over time, the weight becomes so familiar that you hardly notice how much it's slowing you down. Jung said that in order to live authentically, we must first open that suitcase, look inside, and see what we've been holding on to. It's not easy, because each stone carries a story, a memory, sometimes a pain we'd rather ignore. But only by doing this can we free ourselves from their weight. The unconscious, in Jung's vision, is a deep ocean that holds everything we've avoided feeling. Every fear we've buried, every emotion we've repressed, it doesn't disappear. It remains there, waiting to be acknowledged. And maybe you've noticed how certain patterns repeat in your life, in your relationships, in your choices. Maybe you feel stuck, as if something unseen is holding you back. Jung said this is no coincidence. It is your unconscious trying to get your attention. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting or ignoring. It means facing those hidden parts of yourself, embracing them and allowing them to leave. It is a process that takes courage because it asks you to abandon the familiar and step into the unknown. But when you do, something extraordinary happens. The energy that was once trapped in the past begins to release, and suddenly you have more space to breathe, to create, to truly live. In life, we've all had moments where we've clung to something or someone to feel safe. Maybe it's a relationship that no longer works, but you're afraid to leave it because beyond it lies unfamiliar territory. Or maybe it's an image of who you think you should be, a mask you wear to fit others' expectations. Jung teaches us that these things are not who we are. They are layers we've added over our true self, layers that often hide our essence. When you begin to let go, you not only release the weight, but you reconnect with yourself. It's like wiping the dust off a mirror and seeing your reflection clearly again. And what you see is beautiful because it's no longer shaped by others' opinions or past experiences. It is your authentic self, the one that has always been there, waiting to be rediscovered. The process of letting go is not linear. There will be moments of doubt, moments when you question whether you're making the right choice. But every time you choose to release something that no longer resonates with you, you send a clear message to the universe and your unconscious. I am ready for something better. Transformation doesn't happen overnight. It is a journey that requires patience, but above all, commitment to yourself. Jung believed that the purpose of life is not to avoid pain, but to find wholeness even amid challenges. And that wholeness becomes possible only when we stop clinging to what no longer serves us and allow something new to bloom in its place. Letting go is not just about leaving something behind. It is a conscious act of liberation that requires you to recognize what is holding you back. Often, these ties are invisible. They are beliefs inherited from childhood, expectations passed down by society, or emotional wounds we never had the courage to face. Jung teaches us that these ties are deeply connected to our unconscious, and to free ourselves, we must first bring them into the light of our awareness. Imagine yourself standing in a dark room, filled with objects you can sense but cannot see. Clearly, you know they are there, but you can't fully distinguish them. This is how the unconscious works. It holds everything you've repressed, forgotten, or avoided. Letting go, in this sense, is like turning on the light in that room. It means looking at those objects, understanding why they are there, and deciding what is worth keeping and what no longer serves you. but turning on that light can be frightening. Jung called this process individuation, the journey toward becoming your most authentic self. And to walk this path, you must face your shadows. These shadows are not your enemies. They are parts of yourself you've rejected because they didn't fit the image you wanted to show the world. Maybe it's the fear of failure, maybe insecurity, or perhaps the anger you've learned to suppress. But Jung showed us that by integrating these shadows, by accepting them as part of who you are, you become whole. When we refuse to face our shadows, they don't disappear. They project outward onto others. Maybe you've noticed how certain people or situations always seem to destabilize you. Jung said this is no coincidence. These are parts of yourself reflected in the outside world, showing you what still needs healing. For example, if someone's arrogance irritates you deeply, it might be because deep down you fear being seen the same way. Or if you admire someone's courage, it could be because you've buried your own desire to be bold. Recognizing these projections is an essential step in the process of letting go. Because through this, you reclaim the power you've unconsciously given away to others. You stop blaming the world for your struggles and realize that real change begins within. This is one of the greatest revelations in Jung's work. It gives you back responsibility for your own life. And when you learn to let go, something profound starts to shift within you. You no longer feel the need to control every detail of your existence. Jung said that the unconscious has its own intelligence, a wisdom that often surpasses reason. And when you let go of control, you open yourself to that wisdom, allowing life to flow instead of resisting it. It is an act of trust, not only in yourself, but in the universe. This is where Jung's concept of synchronicity comes into play, one of his most fascinating ideas. He spoke of those moments when seemingly unrelated events take on a profound meaning. Perhaps you decide to end a toxic relationship, and soon after, you meet someone who reflects your values and aspirations. Or maybe you leave a job that no longer fulfills you, and shortly after, a new opportunity appears that feels like it was made for you. These experiences are not mere coincidences. They are signals that you are on the right path. Jung said that synchronicities do not occur as a reward, but because, through letting go, you align your energy with your inner truth. As you release what no longer represents you, you create space for the authentic to enter your life. It's like a river that begins to flow freely once the stones blocking its path are removed. This process doesn't just change your external circumstances, it shifts how you see yourself. You begin to view yourself with more compassion. You stop judging yourself for past mistakes and instead recognize them as lessons that have brought you to this moment. This is one of the greatest transformations you can experience, the ability to fully accept yourself with all your light and shadows. When you allow yourself to let go, you lose nothing. On the contrary, you gain freedom, you gain clarity, and most importantly, you gain inner peace. A peace that doesn't depend on external circumstances, but on your connection with your authentic self. Jung believed that this connection is the key to a fulfilled life. It is not about avoiding pain or conflict, but about facing them with the understanding that every challenge is an opportunity to grow. Letting go sometimes also means releasing others. Often, we hold on to people because we believe our happiness depends on them, but Jung reminds us that happiness comes from within. When you let someone go who no longer walks the same path as you, not only do you free yourself, but you also give them the freedom to find their own way. It is one of the hardest, but also one of the most transformative acts of love. It is an act of respect, both for yourself and for others, acknowledging that everyone has their own journey and that sometimes these paths diverge. And that is okay, Because when you let go from a place of love, not resentment, you create space for authentic, meaningful relationships. Another essential tool in the process of letting go, according to Jung, is self-observation. You cannot release what you do not recognize. The unconscious doesn't shout, it whispers. It speaks through dreams, through intuitions, through patterns that repeat again and again in your life. Maybe you've noticed that you keep attracting the same kind of relationships where you don't feel valued. Or maybe it feels like no matter how hard you try, it's never enough. Jung teaches us that these repetitions are not accidents. They are messages, an invitation to pause and reflect. What part of me is creating this experience? The answer isn't always obvious, but it is often found in what Jung called the shadow, that part of us which holds everything we've rejected because it didn't fit the image we wanted to present to the world. It could be the fear of rejection, guilt, or even desires we've been taught are unacceptable. But these shadows don't simply vanish. On the contrary, they gain power in the unconscious, influencing our decisions and emotions without us realizing it. Letting go means opening the door to these parts of yourself, looking at them without judgment, and accepting them as human aspects of your being, parts that must be integrated, not repressed. Jung described this as the path toward individuation, the journey to realizing your highest potential. This journey is not easy because it requires you to face what you've spent years avoiding. But it's in the act of facing that the true transformation lies. Because when you integrate your shadows, you discover something unexpected. Those parts you once rejected contain immense power. For example, if you've always suppressed anger because you believed it was wrong, you might discover that behind that anger is your ability to set healthy boundaries. Or if you've denied your fears, you may realize that facing them reveals a courage you didn't know you had. As you integrate these parts of yourself, your relationship with the outside world begins to change as well. The people and situations that once triggered or affected you lose their power over you. You no longer react from a place of insecurity or lack, but from a place of wholeness and inner strength. And in this space, you begin to experience a form of freedom that few people ever truly know. This freedom does not mean you will never face challenges again. Jung emphasized that life will always present obstacles, but the difference lies in how you face them. When you are aligned with your authentic self, challenges no longer feel like threats. They become opportunities to grow. Letting go prepares you for this transformation. It allows you to see problems not as punishments, but as lessons, as gifts that the universe offers to help you move forward on your path. For instance, think of a relationship that didn't work out. It's easy to fall into the trap of blaming the other person or even yourself. But Jung invites us to look deeper. What did you learn from that experience? Maybe it showed you the kind of relationship you truly want, or perhaps it taught you the importance of loving yourself first before seeking love from someone else. By letting go of guilt and resentment, you allow those lessons to guide you rather than hold you back. Another one of Jung's teachings about letting go is the importance of trusting life's process. We live in a society that constantly pushes us to control every aspect of our existence. We want to know exactly what will happen and when. But this need for control is, in reality, a form of resistance. Jung believed that life has its own wisdom, and by letting go of control, we open ourselves to that wisdom. This doesn't mean becoming passive or giving up on action. It means acting from a place of trust rather than fear. For example, if you are facing a major change, leaving a job, or ending a relationship, it can be terrifying not knowing what comes next. But by trusting that this change is part of your growth, you allow yourself to move forward without the burden of fear. Synchronicity, that phenomenon Jung described as meaningful coincidences, often appears when you begin to let go. It's as if the universe is whispering to you, you're heading in the right direction. Maybe you meet someone who shares your values right after deciding to prioritize your authenticity, or you stumble upon a career opportunity that feels perfectly aligned after leaving a job that no longer fulfilled you. These experiences are not random. They arise from aligning your energy with your truth. As you keep releasing what no longer resonates with you, something beautiful starts to unfold. Not only do you gain clarity and inner peace, but you also inspire others. Jung believed that when we live authentically, we create a ripple effect that touches the collective. Your actions, your choices, even your energy have the power to influence those around you. It's like a wave that spreads outward, reaching lives in ways you might never see. One of the greatest challenges in letting go is facing the unknown. Jung said that our psyche is deeply conditioned to cling to what is familiar, even when it causes us pain. We hold on to relationships that no longer nourish us, jobs that drain us, or beliefs that limit us, simply because the known provides a false sense of security. But Jung invites us to look beyond this fear of the void. The emptiness you feel when you let go is not a place of loss. It is a space of creation. It is like a blank canvas, waiting to be painted with the colors of your authenticity. Jung described this as the path to wholeness, a concept he valued, far more than the conventional idea of happiness. For Jung, wholeness wasn't about avoiding suffering, but about embracing all that we are, light and shadow, and using that understanding to live a meaningful life. For many, the process of letting go starts with small steps. Maybe you decide to stop justifying someone's behavior when they don't respect you. Or perhaps you finally allow yourself to say no to something you don't truly want to do. These small choices send a powerful message to your unconscious. I am ready to live according to my truth. And from these decisions, change begins to take shape. Jung also teaches us that letting go can bring a kind of grief. Even when we know something no longer serves us, releasing it can feel like a loss. This grief is natural and necessary. It's an opportunity to honor what was, to learn from it, and to move forward with gratitude. Denying this process only prolongs the suffering. Allow yourself to feel, to cry if you need to, but don't get stuck there. The purpose of grief is not to keep you anchored in the past. It is to free you so that you can step into the future. One of the most powerful tools for letting go, according to Jung, is self-exploration through dreams. Jung saw dreams as direct messages from the unconscious, a form of inner dialogue that offers clues to understanding your emotions, fears, and deepest desires. If you are struggling to let go of something or someone, pay attention to your dreams. What images or symbols keep appearing? What emotions do they stir within you? Jung teaches us that by interpreting these symbols, we can find the answers we've been seeking. For example, if you dream of locked doors, it might be a sign that you feel trapped in some area of your life. Or if you dream of flying, it could suggest a longing for freedom. These images are not random. They are expressions of your unconscious, guiding you through your transformation. Another way to work with the unconscious is through writing. Jung suggested that putting your thoughts and emotions on paper can help you make sense of them. If you feel stuck, take a notebook and write freely about what you're holding on to. Don't censor yourself, let the words flow. Ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? What am I gaining by holding on? And what could I gain if I let go? The answers may surprise you and bring you invaluable clarity. The act of letting go doesn't just transform your inner world, it deeply impacts your outer world as well. People who align with your truth begin to enter your life. Opportunities that once seemed out of reach appear naturally. It's as if, by shedding the weight of the old, you become a magnet for the new. But Jung also warns us about the trap of comfort. Even after letting go, there may be moments when you feel tempted to slip back into the familiar, especially during times of uncertainty or loneliness. Jung reminds us that growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in those moments when you choose to keep moving forward, even when the path ahead isn't fully clear. Life, according to Jung, is a constant dance between safety and risk, between order and chaos. Letting go brings you to a place where you learn to navigate between these poles. It doesn't mean you will never feel fear or doubt again, but it does mean you've built the inner strength to face them with courage and wisdom. Remember, every step you take toward your authenticity, no matter how small, has a profound impact. Jung believed that personal transformation doesn't just benefit the individual, it uplifts the collective as well. When you choose to let go of what no longer serves you, you don't just free your own energy, you help elevate the energy of the world. This is the true power of inner work. Letting go means opening the door to these parts of yourself, looking at them without judgment, accepting them as human aspects of your being, parts that need to be integrated, not repressed. Jung described this path as a journey toward individuation, toward reaching your highest potential. A journey that is not easy, because it requires you to face what you've avoided looking at for years. But it is precisely in that act of facing where the transformation lies. Because when you integrate your shadows, you discover something unexpected. The parts you rejected contain immense power. For example, if you have always suppressed anger because you believed it was wrong, you might discover that behind that anger lies your ability to set healthy boundaries. Or if you've denied your fears, you might realize that by facing them directly, you uncover a courage you didn't know you had. As you integrate these aspects of yourself, your relationship with the outside world also changes. The people and situations that once affected you lose their power over you. You no longer react from a place of insecurity, but from a place of wholeness and inner strength. And in this space, you begin to experience a form of freedom that few ever know. A freedom that doesn't mean the absence of challenges, but the ability to face them from a place of balance and confidence. Life, according to Jung, is a continuous balance between safety and risk, between order and chaos. Letting go brings you to a point where you learn to dance between these two poles. It doesn't mean you will never feel fear or doubt again, but it means you have built within yourself the strength to face them with wisdom and courage. And every step you take toward your authenticity, no matter how small, has a profound impact. Jung believed that personal change doesn't just affect the individual, it uplifts the entire collective. When you choose to let go of what no longer serves you, you don't just free your own energy, but you contribute to raising the energy of the whole world. This is the true potential of inner work. One of the deepest aspects of Jung's teachings is the connection between the individual and the collective unconscious. The process of letting go is not just an inner journey, it echoes through the social fabric we are part of. When you release inherited patterns, limiting beliefs, dysfunctional relationships, you free not only the chains that bind you, but also those that belong to a family or cultural legacy. This act of liberation has an expansive effect. Even if you can't see it with the naked eye, it reflects in the world around you. Jung called this the impact of the collective unconscious, a concept that helps us understand how our individual actions influence and are influenced by humanity's shared experiences. When you choose to let go from a place of authenticity, you become a catalyst for greater change. Relationships start to transform, and the people around you feel inspired to let go of what no longer serves them. This doesn't mean the path will be easy or that you won't encounter resistance. On the contrary, it is common that when you begin to leave certain things, certain people or situations may try to pull you back into old patterns. Jung believed this is a natural part of the process. It reflects the collective fear of change, a reminder that letting go is not just personal, but a declaration of independence from external expectations. Think about the times when you tried to make an important change in your life. Maybe you decided to prioritize your well-being, to set boundaries, or to follow a dream that once seemed impossible. How did the people around you react? Often, the deepest changes stir discomfort in those who prefer things to stay the same. But Jung encourages us not to see this as an obstacle, but as a sign that we are challenging norms that no longer serve us. At the same time, this process teaches you a priceless lesson: the difference between attachment and connection. Attachment is rooted in the fear of loss, while connection is born from authenticity and love. As you let go, you begin to attract connections that are truly meaningful. These relationships do not ask you to conform or to sacrifice parts of yourself. They celebrate you as you are. And most importantly, these connections inspire you to continue growing and evolving. Beyond its impact on relationships, this inner shift also affects your life's purpose. Jung believed that each individual has a unique calling, a contribution that can only arise from a place of authenticity. But this purpose is often buried beneath layers of fear, conditioning, and external expectations. Letting go is the first step toward discovering that calling. It's like clearing the soil of a garden so the seeds can grow. When you begin to align your actions with your purpose, something extraordinary happens. You don't just feel more connected to yourself, you tap into a new source of energy and motivation. Things that once seemed impossible begin to flow with ease. Opportunities appear unexpectedly, and the people you need in your life arrive at just the right moment. This is the magic of individuation, the path to becoming who you are, truly meant to be. But this path is not without challenges. Jung reminds us that growth often comes with periods of uncertainty and chaos. These moments are not signs of failure. They are indications that you are in the midst of a profound transformation. It is in these periods of apparent disorder that real learning happens, where you discover your inner strength and your ability to adapt and flourish. At this point, you might ask yourself an essential question: how do I know if I'm ready to let go? Jung would answer that you already know. That inner voice, that intuition calling to you, is your guide. Perhaps you have already felt the urge to change, the sensation that a certain aspect of your life no longer fits who you are. That voice is your unconscious whispering for you to take the next step. But the unconscious doesn't shout, it speaks softly. And if you are not used to listening, it's easy to ignore it or rationalize it away. This is where practices of self-exploration help reconnect you with that inner voice. Maybe it's meditation, maybe it's writing, or perhaps it's quiet moments spent in nature. These habits help you reduce the external noise and truly listen to what your soul is telling you. The journey of letting go has no final destination. It is an ongoing process, a practice that deepens with every experience. Each time you choose to release something that no longer resonates with you, you create space for something new, something more aligned with your essence. This space doesn't just fill with new opportunities. It fills with a deeper connection to yourself and to the world around you. As you continue on this path of letting go and reconnecting with your authentic self, you will begin to notice a subtle but powerful shift in your life. The emotional burdens that once weighed you down no longer define you. The relationships that once drained you are replaced by authentic connections. And most importantly, that emptiness you once feared in letting go of the familiar is now filled with possibility, with purpose, and with peace, a peace that comes from being aligned with who you truly are. This transformation is not a single event. It is a journey that enriches every aspect of your life. Carl Jung said there is no awakening without pain, but he also taught that in that awakening we find deeper truth and meaning. By learning to let go of what we are not, we create space for what we are meant to become. Now, I want to invite you to reflect. What in your life no longer reflects your truth? What patterns, beliefs, or relationships are holding you back? And most importantly, what could you gain if you had the courage to let them go? By answering these questions, you are taking the first steps toward a more authentic and fulfilling life. If this message has touched something within you, think of someone who needs to hear these words, someone who may be going through a transition or who needs a reminder that there is always a chance to begin again. Share this video with that person. Every time you spread a message like this, you help spread hope and transformation. Remember, the power to transform your life is already within you. All you need to do is listen to that inner voice, face your shadows, and take the brave step of letting go of what no longer serves you. This is your moment, and I want you to know you are not alone on this journey. Thank you for being part of this community, for opening your mind and heart to new possibilities. I'll see you in the next video, where we will continue to explore the teachings of great thinkers like Carl Jung and how we can apply them to our everyday lives. Until then, remember, change begins with you. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next videos. Each one is created to offer you tools, ideas, and reflections to help you move forward on your path toward wholeness. Your support is invaluable in helping spread these messages to as many people as possible around the world.